Hello, welcome to Best of the Best, Playing with Power series where we rate the top cards, decks, sets, and much more from a CEDH perspective. Time Spiral Remastered is here, and it is a blast from the past. Some cards that CEDH knows and loves only ever came out in the original Time Spiral block. Time Spiral debuted all the way back in 2006. While we're not discussing the most needed reprints list today, I'm sure everyone is excited about the same cards that we are. Instead, we are going to be talking about the best cards for CEDH coming out of Time Spiral Remastered. Not surprisingly, both of these lists overlap. We're also going to be including cards from the Time Shifted collection here as well. These are the cards featuring the old borders that are included in packs of Time Spiral Remastered. This is a throwback to when they did this in the original Time Spiral set. Let's not delay any further and dive right in. First up on today's list is Delay. Delay is an instant that costs 1 and a blue and says, counter target spell. If the spell is countered this way, exile it with 3 time counters on it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. If it doesn't have Suspend, it gains Suspend. Delay is one of many 2-mana counterspells often found in CEDH. It's easier to cast due to its less restrictive mana cost. Putting the spell into exile also prevents any graveyard shenanigans from happening for a while. You might think that letting the spell resolve 3 turns later is a downside. Most of the time, the spell is no longer relevant at that time. Other times, you may have won the game by the time that spell would resolve. Delay was first printed in the original Time Spiral block and hasn't had a meaningful reprint until now. Interaction is critical in CEDH. The cheaper the counter magic, the more sought after it typically is. Next on our list is Pact of Negation. Pact is a blue instant that costs 0 and says, counter target spell. At the beginning of your next upkeep, pay 3 blue. If you don't, you lose the game. Talk about a price to pay. Pact of Negation is a free counterspell that has a steep cost attached to it. Despite this cost, it's included in many decks because of how powerful it is. Pact is often seen in combo decks. When you're trying to execute your combo, there is nothing more important than having the resources available to let it resolve. In these cases, Pact is your best friend. Unlike other counterspells, you don't need a second card in your hand or any extra mana to provide to Pact when casting it. The best part is that the game won't often get to your next turn to pay this upkeep. These reasons make it an easy decision to include it in your CEDH decks. Coming up next on today's list is Ponder. Ponder is a sorcery that costs blue and says, look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put them back in any order. You may shuffle your library. Draw a card. Ponder is one of many cantrips found in blue decks. When it comes to CEDH, every additional card is worth more than its weight in gold. Getting the knowledge of what is to come also goes a long way for your decision making. It's also useful alongside fetch lands to grab that one card you need and shuffle away the rest. Ponder is a great card that easily finds a home in CEDH and in our list. Next up is Dovans Veto. Veto is an instant that costs white and blue and says, this spell can't be countered. Counter target non-creature spell. Dovans Veto is similar to Negate, but with the added upside of being uncounterable. The cost is slightly more restrictive than Negate, but it is well worth it. Non-creature spells make up a large percentage of win conditions in CEDH. The ability to counter wins without worry is a powerful tool to have. Veto was released in War of the Spark a few years ago and is a great reprint to get. Players can often prepare for protecting with their win attempts. When an uncounterable spell enters the equation, things abruptly go poorly for the one ahead. At number 4 today we have Abrupt Decay. Decay is an instant that costs black and a green and says, this spell can't be countered. Destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. CEDH plays some of the cheapest mana costing cards in Magic. These cards are the best of the best and all work in some way to move you towards a win. As we said before, interaction is critical. Along with problem spells come problem permanents. Players are always looking for ways to get more advantage or streamline their decks. Abrupt Decay swiftly deals with players' greed and fears nothing in the process. Here at number 3 is Magus of the Moon. Magus is 2 and a red for a 2/2 human wizard and has non-basic lands are mountains. Magus of the Moon brings another Blood Moon effect to the table. CEDH is full of greedy and colorful mana bases. Magus makes it very difficult for opponents to continue casting their spells. Stacks decks and decks with few colors tend to run Blood Moon. Magus now joins the fight to help silence our colorful adversaries. Coming in at number 2 on today's list is Silence. Silence is an instant that costs white and says, your opponents can't cast spells this turn. Silence is a very versatile spell. It can be used after someone resolves something like Ad Nauseam to stop them from storming off. It can protect you during an attempt to win. It can even get players to react to the stack prematurely. Silence is a gem of a card, and we're sure you will find many more uses for it than we've said here. Finally, coming out on top of today's list is Gemstone Caverns. Caverns is a legendary land with 2 abilities. First, it has, if Gemstone Caverns is in your opening hand and you're not playing first, you may begin the game with Gemstone Caverns on the battlefield with a luck counter on it. If you do, exile a card from your hand. Then it has an activated ability of tap, add colorless. If Gemstone Caverns has a luck counter on it, instead add 1 mana of any color. Gemstone Caverns acts like an uncounterable Mox Diamond at the beginning of the game. The benefit here is that you can pitch any card to it. The worst case scenario for this card is that you get rid of the worst card in your hand. You can also later discard it to Mox Diamond if it's not in your opening hand. The best case is that you exile a Cast from Exile creature while playing a Food Chain deck. Putting yourself a turn ahead of others for the low cost of 1 card is a great benefit to have. Caverns first came out in the original Time Spiral set and hasn't seen another printing up until now. It is also included in a large number of CEDH decks, so you will not be upset grabbing your copy. Well, there you have it, our picks for the top CEDH cards from Time Spiral Remastered. There are plenty of other CEDH staples in this set, not to mention some great cards for casual EDH as well. As longtime Magic players ourselves, we especially love the old border treatment that some of the cards received. There's also new borders or new art for cards found across CEDH. Cracking a box or 2 will be sure to bolster your collection. If you'd like to pick up any of the cards from today's list, check the link in the description. If you're looking to pick up any other Time Spiral Remastered products, such as sealed products or other CEDH singles, check that link in the description below. What do you think the best CEDH cards were from this set? Let us know in the comments below. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode of Best of the Best. You can help us out by liking, sharing, subscribing, and also supporting us on Patreon. Tune in next time when we attempt to assemble the best list for our favorite format, CEDH. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.